a countdown.
60 seconds.
Give me 30. Audio standby. Video.
Standing by for camera 1.
Lighting.
Standing by to ballyhoo.
Audio. Audio. Can someone in the house tell audio to get on headset, please? Lighting.
Yep.
Can you page audio?
30 seconds.
Thank you, 30. Okay, anyone get eyes on the speaker?
I do.
Tell him to get ready to go on stage.
Just a heads up, we're going to go on stage 15. Stand by me.
Stage.
And I will for you to watch.
Close your comms.
Hey, someone calling?
Welcome to the party, audio. Are you ready for mic 1?
15 seconds.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, everyone, stand by.
10 seconds. 10, 9,
Audio, video, lighting, stand by.
7,
Ready.
6,
Ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go.
Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Clem. I'm the Director of Education for Evolve Technologies. And real quick, before I introduce our special guest tonight, which is Clem, I want to show you a quick video real quick. So if you're interested in the class coming up with us on projection, I want to show you this quick little video about this time before we've done this, before we introduce the man himself. So real quick, I'm gonna play this video for you guys, because you know me, I don't like to do all the talking here. Play this video, and then we'll introduce the man himself. Roll video, please. Full screen. Come on, guys.
Clem definitely took me under his wing, and his manner of teaching was just right. It was very one-on-one, and it wasn't abrupt. You can truly tell the passion that he has in the art of projection.
It will give you the confidence to move forward that you may not have about a particular project. There can be stress involved and things like that, and this enables it to be manageable, knowing you can break it down piece by piece.
The Vectorworks aspect is something that I've known it to be a part of this industry, but never knew that I could utilize it in my particular position as much as I should be already utilizing it, given how long I've been in this industry. And then just other little tricks of the trade that you can't learn on your own in this field. You have to learn it from somebody.
Other tricks of the trade is the important keyword there. Learning from others is always the best way to move forward. Again, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Clem himself, the man, the mystery, the author, the two-time author, by the way, if you guys don't know about his books, which we'll talk about a little bit here, and we'll talk about this class coming up real quick. So Clem, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, Omar? How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm as you can see, I'm super excited. I'm stoked about today's conversation. I'm really glad to be talking with you. And thank you for everybody out there on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn who's watching us. I see there's 10 of you guys. Thank you for being here. Remember, this is a live session with Clem and me, so ask your questions away. We will be here. But again, before I'm doing all the talking here, like always, Clem, go ahead and tell me a little bit more about yourself. You know, I've done some of it. Hopefully, I did a good job. I'll let you carry on.
Oh, of course. I mean, you know, what do you say about yourself? I mean, I guess, you know, I love the industry. I love what I do. I am happy for the opportunity to be a part of sharing the knowledge, the information that I've learned, obtained over the years through so many mentors and through trial and error, and just trying to strive to be my best and trying to put this together in a comprehensive way to allow people to have a structure to learn video projection, but then also learn career projection, and just learn how to be our best person, and then a sense of life projection. You know, Omar, you and I met a couple of years back. It feels like it's been so long, especially with COVID and all. Yeah, you know, and I've had my journey in television production since middle school. Went to a special high school in Miami, Florida, William H. Turner Technical Arts High School, studied television production, went off to Florida State, then got my internship with the Orlando Magic, studying media production at Florida State, got my internship in the communications media production with the Orlando Magic, met a wonderful person by the name of Steve Ulmer and Rick Price, Jason Dewberry, Dante Marcatelli, some great people, but Steve Ulmer introduced me to LMG, you know, and starting my career as a freelancer with them, being around for 20 plus years working with them, and just working my way up and kept going. And, you know, one thing led to another. wanted to teach. COVID happens, shuts things down, and I use that time to really put a structure around what it is that I understood. Like Omar mentioned, wrote 2 books, did an audio book as well for Career Projection 101, my other book, Video Projection 101, and continuing to grow the business. And here we are. Here we are.
Here we are indeed. So real quick, Clem, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the 2 books you have. Before we dive into the class a little bit, obviously I want people to know that there's these resources out there for them. So if we can go in order with the first book, Career Projection 101, tell me a little bit more about that book.
Projection 101, Career Projection 101 is an independent contractor's guide to a successful business and balanced life. It's the resource that I wish I had starting off in the industry. You're starting off from day one. What does it look like to be on your first day on the job? And what does it look like to start establishing or understanding your own personal brand? How do you get clients? How do you maintain relationships? How do you find a specialty? How do you find out and decide what you want to focus on? No pun intended, as a video projectionist. And then as you're kind of navigating through your career, how do you create a budget with inconsistent cash flow? All right. How do you get new clients? How do you get insurance? How do you create a financial plan? And then ultimately, how do you retire as a freelancer, as an independent contractor, as an entrepreneur? I am an entrepreneur. I started off as a intern, moved into the role of a 1099 contractor. Then I became an employee of my own company. But I truly am an entrepreneur at heart. And one of the things that I've learned about myself is I'm constantly trying to manage my creativity and focus. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on was giving back to a community, giving back to an industry that I love, and creating this resource, telling this story, creating this book that will allow so many other people to be successful as they're navigating their lives, because these are the resources that I wish that I had starting off, but that I obtained along the way, trying to create a sustainable path.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. And some of the things that I want to throw in there too, Clem, that you did really well is you did go through this. First of all, I love the way the book was written, right? It's written like in this kind of a play, but very educational and very like a conversation. Like you're talking with us, not at us. And I like how each chapter builds onto the next chapter. So you do start off as an industry freelancer and entrepreneur, a guy, and then you break down these segments. And as you go through them, you broke down how you saw this, and it's so relatable to what we're doing in the industry, and it's so relatable to what's going on all the time. And what's really cool is that as you go through this whole book to the end, you finally get to the point where it's, hey, you've been doing this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever your career was in this industry. Here's what you should be thinking about next, that kind of end game that you may be thinking about now, but if you started now, it'd be easier for you than waiting to the end. And I think that's really where that book is very powerful, is that a lot of times we don't, we're so busy in the moment of gathering clients, gathering our network of mentors and colleagues and coworkers that we do business with, and getting the paycheck, paycheck to paycheck, that we forget how to run a business.
And or never learn how to run a business.
Correct. And the book tells you that a little bit, right? Tells you some research that you got to dive in yourself. Obviously, the book isn't an inclusive of everything, because there's so much to dive into there. There's so many things about running a business, accounting, bookkeeping, networking, business related. There's so many dive Ds, but you point the directions to where to get that more stuff and to come to you for coaching, the mentorship, and it's all in that book. So it's a very inclusive way of just thinking. And like you said at the beginning, right? It is that what I wish I had at the beginning, which I didn't, and you may have learned through trial and error. Like here's the trial and error on paper, so you don't have to make the same mistakes, and you can get into a better position faster. And I really love that about that book. Real quick for everybody who's watching.
Oh, sorry, Omar. I wanted to say this too. I know that I attended and graduated from Florida State University, and while I was there, I was dating someone, Jocelyn Aaliyah Henderson, who I later married. Jocelyn Harrod, my wife. And my wife she was a finance and accounting major in college, and has her master's in accounting, and she's a CPA, right? So I know and recognize how blessed and fortunate I am to have been married to a CPA, a certified public accountant, and someone who has been with me throughout my entire journey, right? To have all of that knowledge and all of that information and have that resource available to me and working with me to understand how to manage this money, how to manage this lifestyle, holding me accountable. Like all of those things were just a huge part of my journey. And those the W-2 people in the world, right? Because we're different. We're 1099ers, right? We live a
Yeah.
1099 freelance lifestyle. Those
Yep.
W-2 people, they have that infrastructure. They have that human resource department. They have the investment plan, the 401k, the pension, all those different things that are readily available to them. And we don't have that. I didn't have that, right? So what you were saying, the end game, you need to start thinking about your retirement and how you're going to leave and exit the industry, exit the workforce, retire, right? From day one, from the beginning, you need to start setting aside that money, and it starts with the budget. And it's just that's why it was so important for me to write this, to tell this story, and especially it's to me it's amazing how it came out on April 3rd of 2020, right when the industry shut down.
Yep.
Right when everything stopped, right at the beginning of the pandemic, when no work was happening, nothing was going on. So it was like you can sit and do nothing and complain, or you can start to learn how to be better and live better once things open back up, and starting with your career. But then that's where also video projection 101 came to life afterwards.
Yeah, so for everybody watching right now, I dropped a link for you guys there for the book. If you want to get that book on your own, it goes straight to Clem's webpage. The link there for you. So, and Clem, you brought us to the next one. So talk to me more about the next book, Video Projection 101, the second volume, right? Talk to me more about that one, which is my personal favorite. And, if people get the book, they'll understand why, but that one's my favorite.
I wonder why. Yeah. But you think about how we met, Omar, right? We met through VPSG, Video Projectionist Support Group, and just that mutual love, respect for knowledge, education, the industry, wanting to do better. And even to the point where, you came out and worked on a show with me to learn, right? To learn, to want to be a part of and gain more knowledge and information. And bought my first workbook. You were one of the first people to buy the workbook that I created. And so, people were buying the workbook, people were investing in that and wanting to learn the information. And then I realized like I had to explain how to use the workbook every single time. And that's just it's not doable. It's not scalable. So I created the textbook to go along with the workbook. And what video projection 101, the pre-production and execution strategies of a video projectionist. Okay, pre-production and execution strategies. So yes, I do talk about those things that I do on show site once I get there, things like that. But where it really starts is before you even walk into the ballroom. When you're asked your availability, that's where the job starts. That's where the work starts. That's how you set yourself up for success. So in this book, I'm sitting down and I'm basically doing an entire brain dump, and I created an SOP to explain step by step what I'm looking for, what I'm thinking about, the information, what documents do I need, what programs am I using to analyze and gather more information, who am I talking to, right? All of those things so that I can build the event, build my portion as a video projectionist. I'm building it in my head. I'm completely visualizing it before I get on show site, so that when I get on show site, all I'm doing is recreating what I've already built. And I know some people may have a hard time grasping what I'm saying, but that's why it's important to attend this class, because I sit down and I work with you. We go through the process. We review the book. Everybody gets a copy of the book, right? Everybody gets a workbook. And then we're working through the steps, working through the process, and using the programs. We're using Vectorworks Viewer, right? And I'm not saying Vectorworks, the paid version. Get the free one. you can make that work. So that's why video projection 101 is important. That's why the video projection 101 workshop is important, and then the on-site practicum as well. There's so many layers to this educational process that I've been developing, that I've been working through. I mean, gosh, I believe I started this journey in 2016, and here we are in 2022, and we're going live. We're doing it again, waiting for COVID to kind of slow down the industry to open back up and provide that information, provide that education. And I'm excited to be doing this with Evolve.
And we're excited to have you. I mean, honestly, how many authors do we know in the AV industry that get to come into this building? So that alone is cool. Once again, everybody, I've dropped those links in the comments there for you. So if you want to get either one of those books, both the links are there. And if you're interested in joining the Video Projection Support Group, that link has also been dropped there. So moving forward here, Clem, we've talked about your books a little bit. We dove into the workbook slightly, and I don't want to dive too much into that, but I will say, people, that workbook is probably one of the best things you're going to get out of this class. Let me not say best thing. That workbook, if you want to do pre-pro and you don't know what you're doing, this is what's going to get you that next level. That level up in the industry is the pre-pro work, and this book lays it out for you. One of the things I will mention about the book that has helped me in my career, and Clem made it for this exact scenario, is there is a page on power metering, something that we may not think about a lot because it's always somebody else's job. But it's real simple. You write the date, the time. I read the meters at this much. I knew my projectors needed X, Y, and Z. And when you leave that show site, when you build your projectors, if anything were to go wrong because of power, you have a clear written down documentation saying, when I tested it, everything was good to go. Whatever happened after this point where I wasn't there, it happened afterwards, not when I was there. And it's just a way to verify it. And there's other things in there as well that we'll dive into as we talk today. But that workbook is really, really key in that pre-pro before you get on job site and while you're on job site as a projectionist. And I think that's really what makes you next level changer. So real quick, Clem, sorry, I don't want to give too much out of the book. Obviously, I want to get hands-on with it. There's a tons of other things in there really well. And what's very unique about the book that I like too is that it's video projection specific. So the content is specific to the way a video engineer operates, the way we see things, the way we think about things. It's got a very similar vibe and feel to what you'd be doing with the projector. So even though it's a written format and it's a little bit, show and tell, it is written in a way that makes sense as far as blending a projector goes. There's some familiarity in what is written down and what is there visually for you to look at. So it's very quick, easy to grasp once you understand what you're doing. Let's dive into the class a little bit, Clem. So you and me have been talking for a few months about this. We finally got, after almost a year, I'd say, let's say half a year to be safe, right? Half a year, back and forth, figuring out all these details and stuff between Evolve and us moving to the new academy and everything. We're glad to have you here for the first time.
Congratulations, new building, right? Congrats,
new building, much bigger. I wish I could pick up this camera and show you guys because I spent 4 days with the team putting it together. We're very proud of it. Some things haven't come in. Obviously, there's a shortage around the globe with everything going on, but we are making it work what we have here. And in true nature to AV, we are using what we have to make things work and look as good as possible. And, one of the cool things is, which I'm actually really digging here, I'm going to say this real quick because I see Rich is commenting down here. We're using the studio lights to light up the building a little bit more. I'm kind of liking the vibe. Like, it's all spaced out and it gives us this really cool cinema corporate vibe going on. So I might fight to keep it this way. So anyways, you guys will see that when you come to the class. But Clem, go ahead and tell me a little more about the class, and we'll dive into some of that nitty gritty as we talk today.
Okay. Yeah. So, it's, imagine walking onto the show site, right? So a big part of the class is just understanding who all's there, who all the players in the room, what's your skill set, what do you know, right? Let's open up and share, because at the end of the day, we are each other's resource. That's what the VPSG is, Video Projection Support Group. We are each other's resource, and so we'll get to know each other a little bit. We'll go through the different chapters. We'll go through each chapter, understanding the important things to take away. We'll have some assessments. We'll do some math, right? We'll get comfortable with Vectorworks, Vectorworks Viewer, and understanding how critical and how important that is. Understanding documents, looking at the documents. A lot of that pre-pro work will be on day one. It's a 2-day course. On day 2, we'll start getting into a lot of that hands-on experience of it. But you can't skip day one and just show up on day two. That's not how it works. You're not gonna, some people do it. Some people just show up on a show site not knowing what they're doing and not prepared, and they get it done. But that's not the best way to get it done. Okay, so a lot of this is just best practices, and not just best practices from me. There's 10 chapters in the book, and at the end of each chapter, I have a quote from each one of my mentors. Each one of my mentors, so 10 other leading industry professionals, video projectionists in the industry, are giving their 2 cents, giving their input on what made them successful, and sharing that with you as well. And then we'll kind of get into that hands-on, right? A lot of that grid alignment, that fine grid alignment. I tell you, I'm not biased. All projector brands are great. Okay, all projector brands are great. One of the things that I do really like about the Panasonic projectors is their test pattern, and the grid that has the green RGB, the red, green, and blue pixels, those individual pixels. Because when I'm doing my grid, and Omar, you see me, when I'm doing my grid and I'm aligning my two projectors, when I'm converging them, I want those individual pixels sitting on top of each other.
Yep.
Because if those individual pixels are sitting on top of each other, then I know that the client's content is going to look good, right? And that's one of the things that we talk about as well. It's one of the things that's important to me. As a video projectionist, I understand and know that what is seen on that image, that's the end of the line. That's the end of the line. Everything leads to that. And so if I don't do my job, if I don't do that alignment and that color balancing to the best of my ability, and if I half-ass it, right, then it's basically making the presenter not look as good as he or she wants to, or how they intended their content to look. It's on us to make sure that we put our all in it. One of the things that I learned when I pledged my fraternity was a task once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all. And so in everything that I do, Aggie Quaticus, I do to the best of my ability. And that's one of the things that we talk about as well. Just really diving in. Rich asked a question. What is the number one takeaway?
Correct. What is the number one takeaway students can expect from your Projector 101 class?
I want to say the freedom to be vulnerable. And it may seem small, I think the freedom to be vulnerable is huge, right? The freedom to say that I don't know all the answers. I don't know everything, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to tap into my resources and find out the answer. And that's important. That's not even just a video projection, a video skill. That's a life skill. That's a life skill. And that's some of the things that are important to me. Like you mentioned, Omar, the structure, the SOP, the documents, those things that I'm going to share with you on understanding how to delegate. How can I be the best leader? How can I delegate? How can I know what skills my different stagehands or the projection assist, my team members possess and have? How can I analyze, evaluate, look, understand the people with whom I'm working so that I can lead an effective team and execute this build, almost flawlessly. It's nothing to be perfect, but definitely want to do our very best.
Yeah, and I just want to address the community that's watching right here. If you guys are listening and tuning in and really listening, not just listening to have a response, but listening here, Clem's going to teach a class. It's the pre-pro, the present, and then the after. And that's something that not a lot of instructors are doing right now. I can't think of anybody who's really doing it that way, where they're teaching you kind of the whole cycle, which is super powerful because as a projectionist, you can take a class or learn from a mentor, but you're going to learn just that one portion. They're not going to teach you because there's no time probably. There's no time to teach you, hey, here's all the pre-pro I had to do in order to get to this point, right? You're going to learn how to operate a projector and how to align it. But if you got that call from a client directly to say, hey, I want to do this gig, here's the CAD and the pool list, is this right? And they're referring to you at that level.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the skill set to say, hey, you're going to do SDI at 600 feet. That's not going to work because X, Y, Z. You got to know these things. You're going to have to say, if you're going to do HDMI down fiber, that'll work out fine. But you're going to do 1080 and the content you're spitting out is 4K. We're going to have some problems. You're like, what's the idea? You got to learn about pixel overlapping, and that's all done on pre-pro. Some of that stuff could be done on job at the time, but a lot of that's on the pre-pro side. And Clem's going to teach you guys that stuff. Clem's going to teach you all the pre-pro you need to learn. He's going to teach you the vector work side of things, which is, again, it's another part of it. It's a way to visualize and see what's going on, and to also relate to your clients, hey, here's what I got from what I saw. Is this accurate to you guys? Again, this is that what takes you to the next level and gets that callback, right? Is you become part of the team. You're an asset, not just someone they're paying to do a particular job, but outside of that one function, which a lot of us are learning right now, but by hands-on training, right? We learn to be a projectionist by being on the job and getting paid from somebody, but we're just learning that one section and not realizing that there's so much more involved in what it is to be a projectionist. There's all these pre-pro, all this math, all this stuff you have to go in ahead of time. And you know what? As I say this, you're right. Someone's saying right now, I could hear it in my head, well, that's not every case. And you're right. It's not every case. It's not all the time. But when you start working directly with a client, you B2B, business to business, not business to client, you're the direct contact. That is what's expected of you. That is part of you're a business I'm hiring to help my business out. And that's how you stay relevant and you keep growing in the industry. So sorry, that was my two spills here. I have a ton of respect for Clem, what he does. This class that we have coming up is super powerful. I just want people to know how, to think more than just, it's just a projector class. I can get that on the job training. You could, and you're right, you probably could, but you would never get the pre-pro side and the post side that's going to save you from when something goes wrong and they call you on it and it's your fault. You're not going to have the knowledge to say, well, I did this, and like, well, what's the proof that you did that? What's the accuracy for that? How can you verify that? Because you don't have the knowledge, because all you thought is I'm just going to do this one position, I'm going to do this one job, and I'm done. And it's never actually like that. Once you start moving up, there's a lot more that gets involved and a lot more responsibilities get put on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Real quick,
I have a question for you. buddy. And I know, AV Educate, right? You've been Mr. AV Educate, Mr. My focus is video projection, career projection, life projection, right? So there's a focus on projection. But I know with you and AV Educate, you're trying to incorporate and add all disciplines, right?
Yes.
And with training, manufacturers do a lot of training, okay? A lot of workshops and teaching you their gear, right? What other classes have you heard where that you heard about that's not necessarily about one piece of gear? It's the overall process of how to be successful in that role.
Never.
Have you?
Never. It's always and one of the reasons I do have Educate the way I do it is because typically from my experience, outside of the last 3 years, I think there's been a lot of good change for us because of the pandemic. So, for all the bad that happened, there was some really good stuff that happened. I've been doing this for 12 years officially, right? And I say that because it's when I started doing this with as a full-time job versus my dad owns a company and all that stuff. I started doing this 12 years ago. In that time frame, it took me about 9 years of taking classes that were either half sales pitches or demos of products and not really training. And the older I've gotten, the more I've done this. And now that I'm on the trainer side as well, and training people and getting certified to train the trainer, stuff like that.
Train the trainer.
Yeah, now that I have the certifications a little bit more to able to give back more to the community, what I'm noticing even more now, which ingrains AV Educate for me, is as a trainer for certain products, I am invested in the knowledge of that product, but it's very clear for all that I've been taught to train people on, it is only on the product and capabilities of that product, excluding the knowledge needed for that product. So, and what I mean by that is, if you go with a screen switcher or a media server, right? You take any class with any person, Tim Kashaw, Kevin Ring, you, myself, Carl, I can't think of any of their names right now that would pop up, but any of these trainers, they're going to train you specifically to that product that you're using. There is not time to train you on the knowledge needed for that product. And what I mean by that is, do you know the resolution needed to spit out 4K to the LED processors? Probably not. You're going to need to know that, though, if you're going to send out something to that processor and how it needs to be divided. Do you know the content coming from watchout or from the playback systems and how that affects you coming to the media server? Probably not. And most times it'll be 1080, but it might be 4K. It might be something simple. But there are times where you need to split up a 4K image to 1080p images? How do you do that? Again, these are things that when you learn video and you process this information, those become very easy. But then there's also the nitty gritty of that, right? So if I'm doing 4K on an HDMI line, is it HDMI 2.0 or 1.2? It's a very, very big difference in what I can do there. And in addition to that, we can go further and go to the SDI, right? What's the limitations of SDI? What's the limitations of Displayport? Displayport, although less used, can go to higher resolutions and higher bit rates. So you have clients that know what they're looking for and clients that know what they want to see visually and color-wise. 8-bit, 10-bit, 12 bits, those are big differences in the way something looks. Knowing that information and knowing that, hey, I can spit out 10-bit, but I'm doing HDMI here. I can only give you 10-bit. I can't go higher than that. You're giving me a full-blown Rec 2020, you're giving me 12-bit, whatever. It's great. The LED wall can handle that. My processor, though, cannot. So I can only, this is what I can give. But you need to know that, right? You need to know that these are my limitations because you have this background experience. So there's a lot of interpolarity that we have to do in video that we don't talk about in classes because it's not time. And you're trying to offer that. And what I will say, Clem, in addition to that class, from what you said already, one thing that I do with AV Educate that is hard, that I also try to do is evolve as much as I can with the team here, is we try to cross play because a lot of people are stuck on the technical side, which is 100%. You need to be a good technician, but there's also this soft skills side, which you and Clem and me talk about a lot, and so does Scott Monroe talk about this a lot, and so does other people that are promoting the industry. Those soft skills is what really gets you out on show site with the clients, because I can be a great video engineer, but if I'm just a kind of person, hey, you know what? I really need this guy because he's the best, but keep him in the back away from the client. Or, hey, Omar's like 80% of what I need. He's not like, he struggles a little bit, but he's really good with the client. He's really good at communicating. He's really good at solving and making the client feel at ease. I'd rather put him on the show because this client's very difficult. We have a lot of problems with him, but Omar does a good job. Or, you know what? Let me bring Clem because this is a difficult client. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of mistakes that happen, and Clem will coach the client to be more realistic of the expectations of what's going on. And that's a soft skill that it's hard to teach, but it's knowing that it exists and that it's there and it's part of what we do. I think we forget because we get so technical sometimes that we are in the hospitality industry, and part of that hospitality is being hospitable to your clients, not only your clients but their clients and the people that you work with. And that's something that you're going to talk about in your class, and your books talk about a lot too. That always continue to work on your technical skills, but more so on that soft skills with people, because that's really what gets that callback. Because you could be the best in the world, but if you're just a pain to work with, if you're like a Dr. House, right? We're like, you're the best at what you do, but you're a pain to work with, you're going to have a very small client.
Is that show even still on?
I don't know, man. I used to love that show, and I have a friend I call that all the time, and he gets mad about it, but I'm like, dude, you're that guy. He's got a lot of but,
so Clem, we got some questions here.
Yeah, we got some questions here. So Victor here is saying, let me see this real quick. Victor, so I know Omar exposes his daughter to technology early, which is true, just like I do with mine. HDMI from SDI is crazy. So how early would you recommend someone take a class like this? Kids are super smart now. That's a good question. I would say at least in high school. High school would probably be the way. Clem and me can both share an experience where we started in high school. We both did theater in high school, broadcast production. So high school would be the place to start it. The more you get experience and hands-on, I think the greater that knowledge set perpetuates through. One of the things you mean kind of talked about a lot when it comes to reading in particular is reading can seem daunting and a task, but what reading does is it unlocks new possibilities in your mind, and it keeps retention of all these scenarios of what could be happening with signal flow. So to get really good at signal flow, I read a lot of books, a lot of manuals, a lot of technical stuff. And yes, there's a lot of things that I read. I'm like, I don't really get it right now. But then there's that moment where we're on a show site and we're like, oh, hey, that makes sense now. And okay, hey, it could be this problem here. Let me test this. Oh, look, that's what it was. And now that book I read a year ago now makes sense. So
yeah, I mean, there are definitely certain values and principles that you can start, before even high school. I'm teaching my daughter and my son, like, wrapping cables. I did a video in the middle of the pandemic, right? Yeah, that over under challenge. So wrapping cables, or even how we take the the smaller cables and kind of wrap them inside of each other. I do that with all of my my phone chargers and my phone charger cables, and I teach my children how to do that as well. Shot composition, right? Thinking about visually how things look, feel. those are all skills. Technically, right? You can, I mean, as long as the child, the person is willing to learn and they can retain some of that information or comprehend it, or you're able as a teacher, parent, whomever, to break that down to the level in the simplest form for them to understand, then it's a W. That's a win. I'm starting to work with a technical high school that opened up here in Tampa. This is it actually yesterday was its first day of school, and it's beautiful from the standpoint of it's just like the high school, the technical arts high school that I went to in Miami. Um, I was in the second graduating class of that high school, and now to see this school open up academy based with all of these different programs, and they have a media production program there where they get into photography and Photoshop and some other programs as well, and knowing all the things that I know to be able to give back. And I now have a lecture series that I'll be doing once a month at that school. So they have half days, and I'll go in for those half days, and I'll be talking to 6 different classes and doing a lecture series for anybody that wants to attend through all different disciplines and different academies. So it's never too young to share information. It's never too young to give back, as long as the person's willing and interested to learn.
I agree with that as
Bye-bye.
well. And there's another one here real quick, and I'll let you answer this one first. I have my own opinions of this because we do own some D3s here. But Cameron says here, do you think auto calibration, features in D3, etc., are starting to dilute or remove the need for projector techs as production managers see them as a way to cut costs and is damaging the role in the future?
Well, I mean, we can always find a way to cut costs. We can always find a way to eliminate a position. Is that what's in the best use? Is that what's in the best interest of the show? Is that what's in the best interest of the product, the event, what the client needs and wants ultimately, and the end client being the person in the audience? Talking about auto calibration, there's more than just aligning projectors. You have to properly place them. You have to think about the power. You have to think about the signal flow. You have to rig them. You have to rig the projectors and thinking about the placement inside of the screen, the image, right? Line of sight for an audience. If they're bleachers, there's so many different things to be thought about. So if someone's looking to cut costs and just go the route of manipulating the light inside of the chip instead of using the entire chip, which then reduces the image quality, and also the light output, because if your chip is overblown, but you're only using this much, that's wasted light. And then when you're skewing it, yes, 4K, 8K, all of these different things can enhance your image quality, but I'm a purist. I enjoy aligning projectors, and in color balancing. I remember in the video, Eli, his last name is Pena. We did a workshop together and did the grid alignment. He came to the workshop. He did understood the vector work, did the pre-production side, and then the on-site practicum. And I remember working with him as I was grayscaling 2 different projectors. And I was helping him and teaching him, helping to train his eyes to see the difference in color, to see the variations in gray. Because gray is not just gray. You have 16 steps of gray, and you have to identify the red, green, and blue in the light and in the dark of those colors to color balance and make all of the different projectors the same. That's just throwing something in D3 and auto calibrate. It could be done, but we could also just have one person unload the entire truck and just do the entire show as well.
I like that. So as someone who has D3 in the building, I'm not a D3 user per se. I have played with it, and I understand where they come from with the vector, with the color calibration. What I can say is this is D3 calibration is good, but it's been around since before I even started doing projection. It's been around for a very long time. And yes, it's slowly gotten better, but nothing beats what the human can do, what the human eye does. To some of the points you had made here, Clem, color calibration, all it really does is it aligns the projectors visually, but it doesn't do color balance, it doesn't do blacks, it doesn't do whites. Again, if it dumbs down the luminance levels, that's what it calibrated. That is what it is. And a lot of times I've seen not the best results from it. Yes, it will get it done in a pinch, and it will look good for an installation, as good as it's going to look at least. But I think in the reality is that what we can do as people, because we have a brain, essentially that it's a little more comprehensive of what's going on, we can do more things than the computer can. Not to say that it's not getting better, and D3 does have a pretty good one that does a lot of good stuff, and you can manipulate the content a little bit. But I think operators are just getting faster and better at what we're doing. I think, like Clem said, to purists, the longer you do this, the better you get at doing it that way. The guys at Warp are going to eventually get to that point where they're going to do it the purest way as well, if they're not already doing it that way. And for the shows that are just time constrained, it still takes time to calibrate that. And maybe if this is a concern for down the road, maybe you should put that in your toolkit. Learn to be that calibration person for a disguise operator, because disguise operator has to learn so many other things, between lighting, audio, and video. He's not gonna have time to do that. And he's gonna say, yeah, throw them up there and I'll throw this calibration on. But in order to do it the best way, we still need someone to go up there and align it and all that stuff. So you may be that person's right-hand man for that and say, hey, if I do this, I need to bring on Victor, or I need to bring on Barry, or I need to bring on Cameron, and say, hey, Cameron, every show I go on with projector, I need to be on this because I need to make sure that this is aligned properly for the calibration to work, which still takes time. Either way, it takes time to do it.
Those soft skills, right? Building those relationships, building those bonds, and being that likable person and not Dr. House, and just allowing yourself to have more opportunities and get more work, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I've had a beautiful career. I've had a wonderful career doing something that I love. Every day, I love it. Every opportunity. I just got off job in December, and I think we have 56 projectors, and I'm excited. I'm excited to do the work. It's going to be a beast. I know it is, but it's something to look forward to. And I'm going to be in the trenches and grinding with other team members and other people that I love and respect, and we're going to have a great time. Checking out this regarding audio, auto calibration, auto stuff in general. An eye doctor will use auto test for exam, then use their skills for final exam. Exactly. Like, we're not going to just rest on the auto, right? We had a projector. I did a huge show. We had 46 projectors on this one, and there is the auto orientation. Right, so the projector knows if it's inverted or how it's sitting, and I hadn't seen that. I was like, oh, okay, let's I see it came from the rental house with that already on. Okay, cool, we'll try it out. Let's go. And I guess we took a hit overnight or something. I came in to do the morning grid alignment test, shifting a little bit, and matter of fact, the projector stayed on because they were the lasers. We left them on, but the image inverted. It wasn't where it sat, and that was because it was in that auto state, right? So sometimes in dealing with the auto, it's sometimes a manual transmission is a little better when you're trying to get up and go.
So we're
auto tune, right? T-Pain.
T-Pain Vita side. So someone brings up a good one here. I just think here we go. So this is a direct experience from the real world. So Kyle's saying, I think programs like Mystique and auto calibrations are good starting points. I agree. But there's still a need for projectionists, and companies that cut the projectionists out are asking for and running into trouble. So it's true. And I will say in my career, I have done some auto calibration. The 2 times we did it were both installations, and I had time, and it wasn't a one and done. It took me a couple times to make it look right. And the reason we had to use auto calibration is because the projector and the software that we were using didn't have any of those functions. So auto calibration was like a glue in between everything that worked. It let us pass the signal through this system. I can't remember the name right now, but it was something with like a gecko on it, or a Geico, or the lizard that camouflages. I can't remember the name, sorry. But it was one of those products, and it allowed us to send a playback program through that to the projectors, and on the projector side, it would let us do the calibration. And it took us about 3 to 4 times to get it right, just because it kept reading whatever off of shadows or lighting or something like that. It was very finicky. And even when we got it right, we had to still come back and do some stuff, and we ended up teaching one of the in-house IT guys how to do it so that we didn't have to come back so much. In hindsight, the real problem was that the doors that were about 10 feet away were metal doors. And what ended up happening is those doors were shaking enough. They were slamming enough to cause a vibration. They would slightly move the projectors out of alignment from the jib they had bought. So this wasn't something that I did the install inspected out for. This was something I came in to fix after the fact. And we ended up finding out after a couple of times was that they needed to reinforce the ceiling tiles that they had built this on, because when the door opening and closing, and the only reason I caught this because I was there one day when it happened, people were just coming in and out, and I was like, why do these projectors keep going out? My sanity was getting tested here. Like, I just did this. What just changed? And I noticed down the hallway that people were coming in and out, and every time they closed the door, it was just enough to shake the image. And yeah, it would come right back, but whatever the bolts or whatever was tightened up there it was just enough to move something a little bit, and it get my alignment off every time. So I ended up buying some buffers for it, and some buffers for the mounting system, and then redoing what was in the roof, essentially adding more lines from the roof, like a dead point, all the way down to the actual frame itself to keep it in place from vibrating as much. And that solved a lot of the problems as well as then with the AutoCal. But once we figured that out, things got much smoother, and I hope they haven't got any more calls back, because that was the solve for a very long time. And the other time I've done it was with a buddy of mine experimenting in a warehouse for a job. Ended up not being a good solution, so we ended up having to bring in a projectionist in addition to myself, Geronimo, to help do the whole room, just because at that point we ran out of time. And that was a scenario where the client brought in, we have this piece of thing that does auto calibration, and it wasn't the best solution. And after multiple attempts for the client, we ran out of time and said, listen, we need to bring in another person now at this point and knock it out the right way. And that's what ended up working out for us. So all the calibration thing, it's been around.
Yeah, I believe it's either Richard Dunn or Jay Miriam. It's one of the two of them. But talking about, like, as technicians, the reason why they travel us, the reason why they ask us and pay us to come on these jobs and these show sites is because we are that insurance policy. When things are going wrong, we understand and go through that process to understand what needs to be done to fix the issue so that the show can go on, right? If you're reducing the number of people on a job site trying to manage budget costs, I understand budget needs to be adjusted sometimes, but you're actually putting your show at risk.
100%. And it's a double-edged sword for us as freelancers and independent contractors, that we are also the scapegoat sometimes. So we are the ability to say, you know what, we're so sorry, we won't bring that guy back. So it's just another reason why I think your class is so important, that you guys have that pre-pro to really defend yourself, not only for that reason, but also so that your clients can defend you to their clients. Like, hey, everything was right here, the hotel must have messed up. Like, it's on that side.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things about the pre-pro as well, like understanding the importance of doing that. So many mistakes can be caught. Just little things, not having enough cable. If your run per power is 250 feet, but you only have 200 feet of cable or 150 feet of cable, then what? What do you want to do? You're going to cross rent something locally that now especially if you're out of town, right? Or having a truck coming back and forth from the warehouse, like all of those little things, wrong lenses. You don't want that. You don't want to deal with that. You want to show yourself as someone who's on top of those things, understands what you need to do in order to be successful, in order to have a successful show, and allow your client to have a successful event. Let's just make it easy. But it starts with putting in that time from the beginning. Omar, someone asked a question about certifications. Can you find that one?
I was going to I'll find that one. I'll give you one real quick, though. Kyle just said this, or chandeliers not on the drawing. That's literally almost like 80% of what you do, man. That's going to be a huge problem as a projectionist. So keep that one in mind.
And that's one of the
So
things that we talk about as well in the book is like identifying the venue, right? Identifying the ballroom. A lot of the times, like you'll repeat and go to same places over and over again. So you may see something that's not on the drawing that you know about that building, right? Or the power drop. Okay, I know the in-house engineer who takes care of all those things. I've got that person on speed dial, right? All of those types of things can help you have a great event and make you look good, make your client look good, and allow you opportunity to work more, and then eventually raise your rate, right? Let's get paid. Let's get paid what we're worth, and possibly get paid more for the same amount of time because you're putting in that work, that effort, and showing yourself as someone who's a leader in the industry and doing better work, better quality work than someone else.
100%. So the comment we're looking for was from Victor. Omar had a great talk about this on Certs the other day. In reference to this, we did a podcast with similar to this format on the AVHK channel with Kevin Ring and Tim Cashall about the difference between mentorship and education. They comment lots of people jump to getting a cert without knowing the EDID, aspect ratios, or resolutions, which we spoke about briefly here. Stuff takes a long time to make or to understand. 100% agree with that, and it's totally true. Like I said earlier, a lot of times these classes are meant to teach you the one specific so that you are proficient in that. But a lot of times in video particularly, there is a plethora of other things you need to know in order to make this all talk to each other and to make it work. And the more you as an engineer know or as a technician know in the position you're in, the better you are to help the team as a whole together. And that makes a big difference as well. So I have graphics people that I work with a lot that they know graphics very well, and they know just enough to make my job a little bit easier when it comes to EDIT or when it comes to resolution, so that I can just tell them something and they know how to do it. And there's shows that I do at the opposite end where I have someone who just knows PowerPoint, they got a certification or whatever it is, or they got thrown into a position and they just know PowerPoint, and I have to stop what I'm doing to go fix their stuff because they don't know how to do it. And because of the person I am, I will sit there and teach them so that I will do one, focus on me. I will do the one, you will do the rest, because I got to go back to this and get this way. And not to be rude about it, but just like, I need you to learn this because I don't want to work with you again and I have to go over this again. It's this 5 minutes, 8 up here. Now I'm 10 minutes behind over here because I've got clients telling me to do stuff and I have other things I haven't even done yet. And we got rehearsals in 10, things like that.
Yeah. Hey, Omar, I want to point something out here. So this show that I did earlier this summer, I've got 14 screens here. Okay. I have it labeled as 14 screens, 26 images, but it was 46 projectors as a whole, right? 46 projectors. Now, do you want to think about this? Do you want to just walk into a show site and trust that the client has just taken care of everything and try to build this? I think we had 2 days. We had 2 days to build this. The image all the way across was 502 feet. 502 feet of continuous surface all the way across. All right. You have to do pre-pro. You have to do, like, you've got your power. You've got we had so many different power drops. We were running feeder, right? We had the fiber optic cable. We had the Cat5 extenders to then get to the projectors because everything has to be networked, right? You got to think about trim height. You have to think about service loops. Come on, service loops. And then, I have a wonderful relationship with a lot of TDs, because those are the ones who have been working, understand the vision, working on the drawing. They understand how the show is to be built, to be designed, thinking about the cable paths. You have to know these things before you get on show site, because if you wait till you get on show site, you're behind the 8 ball, especially if you have a tight timeline in order to get this installed, to get this done. This is some of the stuff that we're going to go over in class. We're going to talk about all of the different screen sizes, the lensing, the throw distance, the power, right? Because power is huge. Metering the power, you can't be afraid of it. Oh man, I remember I was on a job and the video engineer hadn't metered the power and was just plugging stuff in. And I asked him before I started plugging my stuff in just to confirm, hey, did you meter this? He's like, no, I don't meter power. But you're the video engineer. Who is going to do it then? I just let somebody else do it. Well, what if there is no one else?
Yeah.
It's like that, and that's huge. I know Evolve offers that a power class, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in this video projection class as well. Just all of these things are important. All of these things are just minor skills, minor tools. Workbox. What do you have in your workbox? What tools are you traveling with? What do you have? Let's share. Let's talk about what I have. Let's talk about what you have. Let's collaborate to see how we can, best serve ourselves to do a better job and serve our client.
I love watching workbox videos. I always learn different things about different people, and it's
Were
like,
you the one who started that challenge?
yeah, I was part of that challenge. I did it. I did one time for AV Education. Those are great. Honestly, it's really interesting to see what different engineers have in their workbox and what they feel is most relevant. And getting that inside look is really cool, because then it's like, oh, I didn't know that product existed. I could use that too. Let me go buy a piece right now. We got a couple of those actually in the office that Eli was like, when we were putting our boxes together, I was like, hey, don't we have some of these little converters with the monitors on them that you could test? He's like, yeah. I was like, I'll take that. I'll take another decimator. I was like, I'll take a decimator. I'll take one of these models. I'll take the batteries that power these up, so I could be remote with them. Like these little adapters they made here that let you take any kind of like camera battery and just plug it into these boxes. I was like, I'll definitely take one of these. I don't know who made this, but I'll take that. Because I didn't know it existed, right? I was like, oh, this is great. But to your point, yeah. So Evolve does offer a IT and power class online. We're actually updating those right now. So if you guys are trying to sign up for those and you have trouble, let me know, and we'll get you the latest and greatest coming up. A couple things that came up here real quick I want to show you. So Robert just said, great conversation. Wish I could take the class. Once again, I am booked. Hopefully next time I can join you guys. Robert, you're always welcome to join us anytime.
Oh, hey, Robert. What's up, buddy? Thanks for tuning in, man.
For sure. And then Kyle brings up a good one here, and I think this is a good way to kind of end our stuff. We got about 3 minutes left here. Kyle asks, how much pre-pro were you able to bill on this show? And I think this is obviously user choice. So we won't go into numbers here, but I'd like to hear your perception, because I have a way that I do this for my clients, and the way that I do this, honestly, is this is why I charge such a high rate, because I include the pre-pros included and my tech box is included. That's why I'm charging this higher rate, because this is part of that package I get you. I have yet to be, although in Texas I did have a client ask me to do it this way. That's a lie. In Texas, I had a client, so I've only done this once for a client where they asked me to bill separately for the pre-pro, but every other client I've had is okay with me billing the higher rate, day rate, for myself. I don't know how you do it, Clem, on your side, but I thought that was a good question to ask, again, on the business side.
Yeah, I definitely, at the beginning of my career, when I kind of started in the pre-pro process, and actually so I just moved into my office this summer, just evolving myself. And as I was cleaning up and organizing some things, I found a pre-pro document here that I have from, what year is this? Hold on, where did it go? September 14th, 2016. This was actually the first event that I worked with Evolve. It was at the UCF arena, and did projection mapping on the entire lower bowl. But I didn't charge pre-pro for this, and I have years and years of pre-production documents that I keep, because they've grown and changed and evolved, no pun intended, over the years. And I like to look back at them sometime and just, but at the beginning I didn't charge for pre-pro, because like Omar said, that's just what I did. And people weren't paying for pre-pro. They just expected that as part of your job, and that's just what you do. So there was no additional pre-pro added. But I think, Omar, I think I was the one that told you about that's why we charge higher rates in some of those soft skill conversations.
I did ask you a couple of years ago. I was like, hey, so what if I'm doing all this extra work? What, am I billing like a lawyer now? And you're like, no, you just charge more when you package deal. Also, for anybody who's watching this is still new, get skills, get clients, get all that stuff right. That's like level 1. Level 2, you got a workbox. You fine tune your workbox for your workflow.
Mm-hmm.
That's like level, the next level, you can charge a little bit more for that, because now you come with that. That's part of your package. Then you start doing pre-pro for your clients. You just, so that's the next level. You
Yep.
start charging more because like, hey, I come with this stuff every time. I come with this knowledge and skill set. And then at the final level is like that reputation you have, that skill set you have, all the stuff that comes with you, like that's part of it. And
Right.
to that point, there's a couple of great ones here. Alex Reed had said, and this is totally true, how many times has a great workbox saved the show? Love a great workbox.
Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on real quick with that is that a lot of us are under the impression, especially me when I was much younger, why is this show sold wrong? This doesn't make any sense. Like they should know better. And you know what? The sales team doesn't. The sales team is a sales team for AV. They don't always know all the AV ins and outs. That's what they hired you for. And once you start understanding that concept a little bit better, that you're there because you have the skill sets they need to do this, you're also going to start realizing, well, it's sold this because this is what makes them money and this is what works for them. But the reality is this is needs any XYZ to make this work for us on show site. And to our credit and discredit as an industry, we as technicians, engineers are very, very good at solving problems, which is why we get into problems, because we're so good at solving for everybody that they're like, oh, Omar will figure it out, or Clem will figure it out, but I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Because we're so good at it, right? So like to our discredit, we kind of cause it to ourselves because the sales team knows that if they hire XYZ person, you, for example, Alex or Clem or me or Robert, Robert or Victor or Jared here, they know that if they hire you, you're going to solve that problem for them. So
yeah, and they know that I'll put in that extra work and that extra time, do the pre-pro, and find it before getting on show site. That's a big one. You want to find the problem before it becomes a problem, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, sometimes I will say yes. Sometimes clients will pay for pre-pro. I remember when one of my clients first started doing that. It's like, hey, we've already built these number of hours for pre-pro, and then with some of those, like I said, those relationships that I had with TDs and putting in that extra work, having my workbook, like, where's my book here? Here's one of my books. Like every show I have a folder with everything already in it, you know, like all of it ready. And I take the time to do that, and clients pay for that. Sometimes actually it's gotten to the point where clients will pay me to do the pre-pro, even if I'm not on the job site, because they know how meticulous that I am about these things and working and understanding their system and helping them to even improve some of their system from the outside perspective, right? I'm an outsider looking in and helping them to grow and evaluate it. And video projection 101.
You guys should get this book and figure out why I like it so much. The first couple pages in the book, you'll figure it out. So real quick, I got one more here. I'll leave us with. We just passed our 60-minute mark here, so I don't want to take up too many people's time here. I know you got stuff going on. I got stuff going on here at the office. So Jared asked this one question here: any projection 101 classes in Vegas soon?
Yes, very soon. One of the things that we're working on, so I have, I'm doing this first workshop here in, excuse me, in Orlando. I'm doing this first workshop in Orlando. I have another one scheduled in Raleigh, North Carolina in December, and looking to do these quarterly, right? So once a quarter, whether it's a company that's looking to bring me on to help do this class and teach and enhance their team, but also we're starting this process of partnering with Evolve, right? We have other locations, so we're taking the show on the road. So, you know, I'm saying jump on it while you can. Jump on it when for you. Don't just be like, oh, okay, I'll wait till it comes to my city. Invest in yourself. It will be one of the best things that you will do. Invest in, educate yourself. I invested in myself, and my life has changed by doing so. You must invest in yourself. Get out there, learn. Vegas coming, Dallas coming, Chicago, DC market. Email us, Clemco, operations@clemcoav.com, info@clemcoav.net, clemco.net, info@clemco.net. And we'll make it happen.
I love it. So typically I ask, is there one final thing you could tell the audience? But I feel like that was it. You just closed out with a great little piece of advice there. So do you have one more piece you could give before we let you go for the night? I'll let you think on that for a second. I'll go full screen here for a second. I saw Kyle just said here real quick. Actually, two things here real quick. Kyle, you mentioned Shogun 7 is one of the best additions I've made to my workbox. 100% agree with that. The Shoguns are great. I was actually looking at between the Black Magic's, I think it's the Black Magic video monitor, the new one that just came out. I was looking at one of those for an option. Make my job much easier, especially when they're drawn through cameras, switch at your give-year-old records. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then another one from you real quick here was also boy guys cover the top 3 brands in your class. Barco, Christie, Panasonic. Had a bunch of projectionists say they only know one brand and fumble through the software. So I can let Clem answer this if you'd like, or we could close up. But the reality is Barco, Christie, Panasonic, when it comes down to the fundamental level of what a projection does, do all the same things. The menus are a little bit different. And what I would recommend is reading the manual to understand the menu structure. The software, again, softwares do all the same thing. Barco, I don't know the Christie software too well. Panasonic and Barco are similar. One's project tool set, one's geometry manager. They do similar things, but where they're located in that menu or that GUI system essentially is a little bit different. But again, if you learn the fundamentals of what a projector does and how to do it, it's just learning where that piece that you want is. And I think that goes universally for most things that we do out there. I'm obviously came from a Barco house with Media Stage and Evolve on Panasonic. And I've grown to like Panasonic. There's a lot of benefits to the lasers, a lot of benefits to the way they operate and do the cages here. But Barco's are still good. Barco's are still great. Christie's still great. But again, fundamentally, if you learn the fundamentals of what a projector does and how to do those things, they're all do the same thing. It's where that is in the system, in the menus, and to locate that functionality that you're looking for. So Clem, I took a little bit here just to give you some time to think about an additional closing for everybody, but I'll give the room to you and close us out for the day.
Yeah. I honestly, I really look forward to you all taking this class. I look forward to spending this time together. I look forward to being together in the classroom, communing outside of the classroom, really building that relationship, getting to know one another. Anybody in video projection, if you're here, video projection is somewhat of an interest of yours, or you're getting hired to do the job, look into Video Projection, a support group. It's a Facebook group that I created many years ago, 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. We have over 2,000 video projectionists, specific video projectionists in there from around the country, around the world. I remember when the first person, I think it was Scotty, joined from Dubai, and I was like, oh my goodness. So no matter where I am, no matter what time I'm working, there are resources available. And in addition, I built my company, I built my brand, Coach, Lead, Educate, Mentor, a company that's focusing on coaching, leading, educating, and mentoring others. That's what Clemco is. So whether it's Clemco U, Clemco HR, Clemco AV, and now even working out in California and managing AV5 with our certified AV brand, we're here to help you project the best image possible. Okay, so and it doesn't end in the ballroom. It doesn't end there. It's your life. This is your life. The best show that you should be producing is your own life. So I challenge you to invest in yourself. I challenge you to even if you can't make it to the class, buy Video Projection 101, but most definitely buy Career Projection 101. It's an audiobook format as well. We went through a lot dealing with COVID and the industry shutting down, the industry changing. And now that things are opening back up, let's not fall back into the way that things were. Let's understand how we can be better, how we can do better, and how we can evolve and help this industry grow.
Thank you, Clem, so much for being here with us tonight. Thank you for everything you're doing for the community and for the books you've written out there. Just so everybody knows, I've dropped a couple of those links back there at the end for you guys to follow through there. There's still a couple of seats available for our class, but they are filling up. I think there's only 2 or 3 seats left. So get your tickets real quickly. And again, Clem, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I hope to see you in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. All right, it's coming right around the corner. So I'll see you soon, Clem. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Peace.
And guys, final word for me again. I'm Omar Clem, the Director of Education for Evolve Technologies. Real quick, we didn't talk about this in the post, so I will leave you with this. Two things that are very important about this class. Not only is Clem obviously just a great resource, a great person, and an all-around knowledgeable projectionist and an author, he also owns a labor company that he does and resource. So this is a way for you, if you're thinking about this and you're thinking about, well, what's the outcome? This might be one of the outcomes for you if you do a good job. In addition to that, Clem is also just a great resource and person to know, and it's a great networking event. So another thing that benefits these classes a lot, which is one of the things I like to preach about when it comes to those soft skills, that coming to these classes, although it's an investment, you'll get it back within a day or two of doing any job you do once you get these classes done under your belt. But the real investment is that you're going to meet new people that you might not have met before, and you'll be able to network with these new people that have learned something you've learned, and it's an instant network of people you created within 1 day or 2 day class that you're going to refer to back and forth. And if you are good at what you do in this industry and you trust in the people you work with, you're always going to talk to each other back and forth. And when you come to this class, you're going to have an instant network of people to talk to relay information to share work with. So the real benefit is in that portion, I think. As far as the money cost goes, use PayPal, get a credit card if you have to pay it off. Come to the class. They're worth it. You're going to make your money back within 2 shows minimum. Anytime you do these classes, any class with anybody, any manufacturer, you'll make your money back as soon as you get on a show with it. So don't ever think that way. Like my good friend Ed Wallach says, cry about it now, but do the deal and cry later about it. So, anyways, thank you guys for being here with us tonight. I really appreciate everything you've done. We will see you on the next one. We do these once a month, but see you on the next one. We have a great one coming up. We have 2 great ones coming up right now. Really excited about them. So, see you then. Peace out.